What's going on, everybody? Yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, man. Man, what's going on? Transportation Tuesday, man. What's good, man? What's good? What's good? And everybody, hope everybody can join us today. Hoping we can join. Today's topic is the fact that we want to talk about if is transportation still a reliable source of income, and for some, because things have changed so much, and I would say that, you know, you know, that that if when you look at it from a salary perspective, and it also, it all depends on which type of transportation you're doing. There's so many different transportations you can do. You got some that are, doing the box trucks. You got some that are doing, the courier side, like as far as sprinter vans and things like that. Hold on a second, I'm gonna let my beautiful wife in. Yeah. So anyway, like I was saying, sometimes it all depends on what you're getting into. Um, there she go. What's up, beauty?
Hey,
Yeah, right. Everybody, my wife not doing that well today, but she still taking it like a G to get on here with me. Uh, so, baby, we were talking about the fact is that is transportation still a reliable resource?
hmm
Still a, um, and so I was, you know, I was thinking about that, and then I, kind of looked at, you know, how when you think about transportation as a whole, you know, you have to ask yourself what part of transportation you're going to be in, because you got people that are actually, out here doing things like, you know, DoorDash, Uber Eats, and um, some that's all they do, and it's income. You got some out here that run courier services, which mean like the sprinter vans
yeah.
and the box trucks and things like that. you know, and then you got some that run tractors. But I think a lot of times, you and I was talking to one of my partners. Well, I'll tell you who it is. I was talking to Lorenzo about it,
hmm
and we was talking about and we was just talking. He was saying that he that in the box truck, you know, side, he's thinking about upgrading to like a different type of box truck. He's thinking about getting a box truck that has like a um hey, what's up, trainer? It has a sleeper on it. You know what I'm saying?
Bob
And
got sleepers?
yeah, yeah, they got sleepers, and and he was so and so he was saying, hey, because he was thinking, like I said, he was just because he once he get certain things out the way, he was thinking about. I'm not going to talk about what he as far as
What
he
he,
said he got to get out the way.
yeah,
Yeah, because
what
that's
his intentions are.
yeah, and he was saying that he looked into it, and I told him, I said, man, I would probably do it if I was you, because at the end of the day, um, at the end of the day, um, if you buy the type of equipment he's talking about, see, he's going to actually run out further. Like once he,
Yeah.
get all those, he got a couple things he just got to get in order. Once he get them in order, he was like, man, I'm going to run further out. So he'll probably be doing stuff like, they he might do things like, like sometimes they have those crucial, hey, Carrie, it has those, what they call them, critical, like things like hearts and, kidneys and, you organs that they have to get there, and they have to get there by a truck.
hmm
Um, those things, FedEx has it. I think it's called FedEx Critical. Um, and they use
Yeah.
contractors.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have a CDL to do that. You can just have a regular license. You know what I'm saying? But you got to buy a box truck, and then the thing about it is you have to still, because the box truck still have to kind of, it still has to, follow the rules of the as far as hours of service.
Hmm.
The box truck still have to, follow that rule. But the Sprinter doesn't have to follow that rule, like cargo vans and things like that. They don't have to follow those rules. You know what I'm saying? But the point is, I still think transportation is a good, good way to make money. Because regardless, um, and I'm not going to put, you know, each, one of the, I'll put it to you like this. I know, some of my guys has made 80 grand, almost 80 grand a year.
Hmm.
And if my math add up, that's over $1,000 a week. And I know somebody like, man, $1,000 a week to you ain't that much. Um, that's 4 grand a month. And, and but you will make more than that. You can, if you have your own truck, of course, you're gonna make 100,000 plus. Then you got all the, the things that go along with it as far as the overhead. But um, there's still money to be made in transportation.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
um, and I just think that with all the the adjustments that's happened with the COVID, not really being essential as much as it was at one time. Um, getting the rates being as high. I just think it's just a balance now. Um, and so and I still think that if you put a plan together, you can make some money in either one of those industries as far as your semis or either in your box trucks or your Sprinter cargo vans, um, and even downtown, they got routes downtown where people are, delivering, they're delivering, like I said, furniture, and they're using little small vans to get it downtown because you really can't go downtown in a semi.
Yeah, I seen
And
those small.
it's the,
You showed me those smaller, even those
hmm
smaller box trucks. Remember those?
16, they're like 16-foot box
Yeah,
trucks. Yeah.
that
hmm
people can get around downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and so I just think that if somebody really wants to make some money, now the thing about it, I think the catch to it, where it always get a lot of people is depending on your overhead. But that's anything,
It
you
always
know.
boils down to how you manage your money, and always
Yeah.
boils to, I think it's a mindset or a shift issue, because some
Uh-huh.
people, like some people got into the trucking industry because they thought it was a cash cow, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they wanted and you might be balling out and spending your money faster than you can make it. However, then you got some people that look at it as if, okay, this is how I'm going to, take care of my family. And it all depends on your mindset. That way you can shift, right?
hmm
Either when you're making the money, you put money up for
Yeah.
days, situations like this. And
hmm
then when the situations like this, you're like, okay, I gotta, I gotta budget, right? Or cut back on spending.
Yeah.
Um, and be cool with that and be okay
Yeah.
with that, and
hmm
and just understand that, you know, the industry has highs and lows,
Yeah.
just like the world economic platform has highs and lows.
Yeah.
We're high with one president and we low with the next
Yeah.
president. So,
Yeah.
but you got to be able to make the adjustments, and you can't take it personal, number one, because we don't have control over that.
No, we don't.
We don't have control over that. So you got to be able to not take it personal, and you got to be able to adjust and shift. But if you're a person who's materialistic and a person, and I hate using those words because it sounds like I'm talking down on people, but
hmm
if
hmm
you're a person who just has to live a certain lifestyle, and when stuff like this happens, it can affect you in a negative way.
Yeah.
Or
Hmm.
if you're in a person who has the ability to adjust and shift, then that's all you do. It's like, okay, it's time to tighten up. Um, we're only going on one vacation this year, and instead of one every quarter,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
you can make the adjustments because you're going to be fine. Money makes the world go around, so you're going to be able to make money. It's just that it's going to come slower than it did, and than it did with the previous administration.
Yeah. That's true, and that's why, um, you know, and I only say this for the purpose, and for not to promote, you know, anything about this, this gentleman. But when, like I said, whenever somebody asks me, I always tell them, say, man, it's just like, you had, I don't even think, I don't even think President Obama had the name, uh, uh, and I don't think Bush had it either. Um, but I think the only person that really had, I think Clinton. Matter of fact, don't even think any of the I don't even think any of them used that name. They had Reaganomics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of Jay's verses. I learned how to master Reaganomics.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he if you go back and you look at that time, um, you know, excuse me, that was the birth of capitalism. Like really, let's start looking at numbers different and start getting rid of certain regulations and things like that, and everything changed in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then of course when um, Clinton came in office, he had to adjust his, and and that was 8 years of him resetting a global stage, because now you the trucking industry is dealing with containers and import exports, and that's where a lot of that came from. He started doing more with the overseas market. So and then with with because of course um you know we wasn't in business then. And I was but we got into um President got into Bush, Bush Jr. W. And he of course, that's when we started the business. And at that time, we was having a little bit of uncertainty about
Yeah.
certain things
A lot of
going
stuff.
going overseas and stuff,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and so of course, then when 4 years into the business, of course, we ran into now, like I said, if you had it, because it technically wasn't a Bushnomics, because the damn market crashed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And President, and so and then when President Obama got in there, and it wasn't no Obamanomics, because it really wasn't no nomics there. He had to get in there, really, he really had to get in there, and
And
I
clean
mean,
some stuff
every
up.
man, everything was upside down. Like
Mm-hmm.
I remember, we sitting at home, and they're like, what the world? The banks. I mean, we was with you know, I
I
think
think
what
we
we
was
had
with Bank of America at the time.
we had Bank of America, and I think we had Wachovia. Remember? We had Wachovia.
Wachovia,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
All about Wachovia.
Yeah. And they
Yeah.
combined
Yeah.
Wachovia and made
Yeah.
Chase. Technically,
Yeah.
I think that's what they did. Yeah, that's how
Yeah.
Chase came about.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying? You had Countrywide, you had a lot of banks, you know what I'm saying? So it was a bank issue now. Like, okay, so it's not, Obamanomics, you know what I'm saying? They want to call stuff, and so the only thing you ever heard up under him was Obamacare, as far as the healthcare situation, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then you get to Trump, and it was a decent, everything was going, decent. So uh and then now, and then you hit COVID, and so trucking was still the backbone of a lot of stuff that changed in the 80s, because I was telling somebody that because people still think there was a lot of black truck drivers in the early 70s. That was so far from the truth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Because people don't understand that that's why I said and it's an opportunity. And so with all that said, you know, you can really pull yourself out of a situation. But if you got too much overhead, then that's anything. I don't care if you know, I don't care what it is. If you got too much overhead, it's hard to start a business.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and but if you because I've known a lot of people that started businesses that, like in my case, I was laid off. You remember? And
Yeah.
just like the young lady, what was it? I think, and don't quote me on this. I think she had her own, you know, she got laid off, but she started her own kind of baking company,
That was
and
Tammy
it was
Cake.
success.
That was Cam.
Yeah, it was Cammy Cake.
Yeah, she got laid
Yeah.
off. Uh-huh.
So you know what I'm saying? So you could do it, and it's been successful. Most people that start businesses, they really kind of it's like, okay, I want to you know take a chance on me and bet on me, and
Mm-hmm.
so I still think that trucking is a good bet. Transportation is a good bet. I think that it depends on, but I think that a lot of times that, let's say, like I was explaining to you about Lorenzo, if you do get a box truck and you buy one and you feel like you want to run like all over, then you need to
Mm-hmm.
get a box truck with a sleeper on it.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? And then you can get
Mm-hmm.
and then you can get the um it's like I can't think of the name of it. It's a um it helps you sleep. It's like a AC unit that you'll run um in your it's just like we got them on our truck. It's like a uh excuse me, I'm sorry, hold on a second. Man, that pollen coming back at me. Um Give me 1 second. Let me tell you what that device is, because Renzo asked me what the name of that device was. Um let me see.
Is it like an air conditioner?
Yeah, but it's a certain name, and I was trying to see if I can find it right quick. Um, uh, it's a brand. I went to they got a few of them out here. They got a few. It's I think this one's it right here. See, uh, they got like they're basically what they are. They're like they're what they do. It's like an HVAC. It's like an HVAC unit. Um, and what they do is it actually, you put it on the bunk. See, they've gotten better too. They used to um they used to be a lot more expensive. Now they they're a lot more, they're a lot more smaller now, the way they make them for the bunks. Um and and um and so and it's and I was trying to find the name of it. Like, because the one the one I was thinking about putting on our truck. Um, it's like a zero breeze, as some of them call. They're just AC units. The point is that he was saying that, but like I said, you get one of those and you put that on your on the box truck, and you just run. But you got to be willing to sacrifice. Some people don't want to sacrifice time, you know, and that's
Or,
the one thing
or
they don't want, because you got.
sacrifice in general at all? Or the word sacrifice, some people just don't, you
Mhm.
know, want to.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, and it's like I was telling him, I said, man, you decide to do this, then, you know, you just know that you know, you can do it. But I'm glad to hear him saying that he was gonna, he was gonna,
Look into it.
get one with a sleeper on it. Yeah, and
Oh,
I told him, it's just like if I had to tell anybody that if they, because the average person will always think, okay, I'll buy me something used. But if you got good credit, and let's say, for instance, I was younger, right?
hmm
And somebody said, okay, Tori, um, you know, um, and I'm not married, you know what I'm saying? Or, um, I would say, if you're gonna, right now, you don't need an apartment. You can just say, okay, I'll sleep in my truck. And then when I come home, either you can, you know, I mean, I would buy me a damn RV and keep it at my storage place, and get my RV, have my pickup truck at a, of course your pickup truck gonna be wherever you park your tractor, you know what I'm
hmm
saying?
hmm
And then I would have my RV, either, a right next to it. And then what I would do is, once I'll buy me two spaces. I'll buy me a space for my tractor and my trailer. So when I get to, I come home.
No, I can't hear you. I think when your phone rang, it did something. Can you hear me? There you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
hold on a second.
There you go. You good?
I think what happened is a person called in.
Yeah.
Let me see. Uh, all right, there we go.
hmm
So, yeah, I had got a call. But anyway, um, so what happened is that, I would get a parking spot for my tractor, and then right next to there, I'll give me a parking spot for my pickup truck and my little RV that I pull behind it, right? Because see, guess what I could do? Either I can go if I want to get me a hotel for that night, you know what I'm
hmm
saying? I can go to a hotel room or get me a what you call it what, extended stay, right?
hmm
I'm saving money now because the only overhead I got, because the tractor is, it's the only overhead I got on it is let's say just the tractor, but I'm saying as far as a home, mortgage and all that, I don't have that. So I'm saving money. And then number two, the little RV I got, if I just want to go somewhere and say, okay, I don't want to get a hotel, all I gotta do is pay for a campground. You know what I'm saying? Pull my RV to a campground and stay at the campground for the weekend, and um, you know, and, and most of your RVs have showers in them. You
Yeah.
and so my point I'm getting at is that if I had, but that's what I would do if I wanted to save a bunch of money and pay like cash for down there for a house. I've seen people that drive a tractor and they they pay cash for the damn house. They'll pay
Yeah.
their house off. I know a couple. They ran teams. They lived in the Midwest. I met them. I forgot when I met them. I think it was in Texas when I was down, and it was one of my times that I was that I had I was doing my my reset.
Those border
Um,
runs.
yeah, and so. and I think I saw them having something to eat, and they was talking, and I asked them, and they was like, yeah, my wife is, we run teams, and they was like, they said they had like a kind of like a ranch somewhere in the Midwest, and they said that, we're running hard to pay it off, and and so I had to think about it, and that's where the idea came from when they told me they bought the tractor.
Mm-hmm.
And when they bought the tractor, but they bought the tractor with 0 miles on it.
Damn.
But that's the thing. But the tractor usually have a warranty up to about 300,000 miles. So if and so when you running teams, technically the reason why they was sitting, it was because I think what it was that it was time for their reset. And so that's the only reason they were sitting, because normally with teams you're constantly running,
Mm-hmm.
and so they had to they had to do their reset, and so what's going on, Five Dog? What's up, man? What's up, Funky? And what's up, Funk? Yeah, what's up, man? So anyway, I'm sorry, my glasses, blurry, but anyway, so yeah, and they ran the teams, and I was like, next thing you know, I just listened to what they said, and when they told me they were paying their ranch off in Midwest, I was like, wow. But they was running hard. So you think about it, if they're running that hard, what's going on, man?
Hey.
Um, and so I had to think about it. I said, okay, if he's making 100 and some thousand, and she's making 100 and some thousand,
On teams, yeah.
yeah,
They saving a
they
bunch
making
of money.
they saving a bunch of money. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Yeah, but some
And
people
I said,
don't. Some people don't. I don't know if it's just some people not
what up,
built like
Perry?
that, or
What up, Perry?
some people don't think like that. But um, I, I think that's if you're younger
Hmm.
and you're in the transportation industry, I think that's a great way to start out
Yeah,
to give yourself a better foundation rather than going into transportation with a bunch of overhead.
that's true.
Especially in times like this, if you want to get into the industry, then yeah, live off grid for a little bit and stack your money
Yeah,
and
stacking
and
money, because
and,
you,
and
you know,
keep them wheels moving. And then when you reach your goal,
what up, Perry?
then you can um then you'll have the funds you need to create a foundation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Well, that's the thing, you know, the units are called AP units,
Uh,
and you got AP and you got a carrier. But yeah, I mean, and like I said, you can, I tell anybody, I have a lot of them come up to me, but like I said, the biggest problem, half of them, oh, thank you, man. He said agreed with
mm,
us.
I see.
Uh, you know, the thing about it is that when people ask me that question, I always tell them, I said, man, they're like, man, I gotta give them CDLs. I'm like, you know how to do a CDL, because you can do it in a box truck.
Hmm.
You know, you can do it hey, you got people that run sprinters like Pro Masters.
Hmm.
You hear me out when I say this. You can go online and just Google it. You got some people that buy like that Pro Master we got the high rooftop on it, right?
Hmm.
They will go inside of it and build, like, because all you got to do is have enough room technically to be able to get that size pallet that you pretty much have in there. Or they'll build it where they have a bed in there, and the bed will flip up on the side of the wall. Yeah.
Hmm.
If
Yeah.
you and you know how, and then you can, and you, like I said,
If you if you have a goal
yeah,
and you're in the transportation industry, your goal can be reached if you just stay focused and
hmm,
make a plan. Like,
yeah,
so if
yeah,
somebody has a pro master and they got a plan to get the XYZ dollars by this time, then they know how hard they gotta run.
yeah,
It's just that I don't know, some people just don't have a plan or the capacity to follow a plan through. right?
Yeah, and some
Because
don't want to give up the
even
time.
even when you first got into the industry, I had no clue what you were, what your and I know you set goals every 5 years. You met your goals. But how you were going to reach the goals, I didn't know. I just know you had goals. And then when
Hmm.
the 5 years came, it's like, okay, that goal is reached. Then I'm like, when did you do all that?
Hmm.
But you were focused, and you were, every time you left the house, your intention was to make XYZ dollars. And I'm so busy with the kids that you're like, okay, babe, time to pack the house up. We moving. I'm like, what? What do you mean? Okay, it's time to move, right? So if you stay focused and you work towards your goal, it'll happen. You always had goals. Every 5 years on your birthday, something different is going to happen in our lives. Our lives are going to change. And every year on your birthday, we our life changed. We went from our first house to our second house to our third house. And then you we okay, it's time to buy a new car. We buy a new car. Okay, it's time to do this. So it's time to build the business. It's time to get a building. It's time to buy a building. It's time to do all these things. But you had a plan. You were laser focused in on the plan, and then at the end of the day, the plan happened. So if you have a plan, you sacrifice,
Yeah,
right? You
yeah,
sacrifice your time. You
yeah,
were out on the road. So when you put sacrifice in motion, your plan is always going to come into fruition. I don't think people understand that. So in order to get to the plan and you start working on your plan, sacrifice has to be in the equation. If sacrifice is not in the equation, you might as well go sit down somewhere.
yeah. And that's the thing that I always have to tell people when they ask me, you know, because they always see that's the one thing I kind of hate sometimes. Everybody wants to see, they see the after. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But but when somebody tells you, how, how it started, it's like people get, quickly they get, what,
Discouraged.
ADD or discouraged. You know what I'm saying? Like you talking,
Oh, you got
they
to do
don't want to
all
hear that.
that?
Yeah,
No.
you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
So,
you got to do all
yeah,
that?
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
you
definitely,
do. Because you
yeah,
had to sacrifice time with your family, right? I had
yeah,
to
yeah,
sacrifice. I had to sacrifice my husband not being home, helping me with the children,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And a lot of women. I'm not trying. Well, I'm gonna just be honest, because I know it for a fact. Being an employer and the way some of our drivers, um,
hmm,
we got
hmm,
phone calls from wives asking us why their husband got to work so hard, and it's like, you do know you don't get to call your husband's job, right? You don't
yeah,
get to do that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I say that to say that some women don't want their husbands working. They want their husbands at home, laid up underneath them. And I'm like, who does that? If that man is willing to get up and leave the house and go to work,
yeah,
let him do that. That's
yeah,
what that means he's a provider and he's trying to provide. So you have to allow him to do that. But like I said, that word sacrifice, that's the key. That's the golden ticket. That's the key to everything. And some people don't want to do that because sacrifice means you're going to be
yeah.
uncomfortable.
And that's the thing. Uncomfortable
And
is a
they
key
don't
word.
like
Mm-mm,
people don't feel like
mm-mm.
they
They don't
want
like
that
being uncomfortable.
comfy, cozy feeling, like
Yeah.
they underneath a warm blanket all day, every day. No, that's not how it works.
Nah,
That's
that's
not
why
how that works.
that
Sacrifice has to come into play.
yeah, but
Has to.
that's why I was saying about the um you was talking about the signals and stuff. I think it got a little fuzzy because last week you
Am
said
I
I was
fuzzy?
fuzzy. It might be the room or whatever. So
Am I
yeah,
fuzzy?
it's a little.
I look
Yeah,
fuzzy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like you said I was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it must be the
I'm
signal up there.
moving too much. Maybe I need to be still.
What's your bars? What's your bar? Turn your phone a
I'm
little bit. See what the
not on
bars
my
are.
phone. I'm on my iPad, and I'm
What's
and
your
I'm on my charger, so I got 3 bars.
AT&T probably? You on AT&T? Yeah, so everybody sees, but it's all good because you're still beautiful, so no matter.
Thank you.
So when I'm fuzzy, us men, it is what it is. Point is, but yeah, and I think that's the thing that I try to tell someone that even if you're working for somebody, you got guys that driving trucks for people making 50 cent, 55 cent a mile, and somebody be like, man, that's not a lot of money. That is a lot of money. That's more than what the average person makes on their jobs. And because we're talking about when you do the math on it, if you go, everything's a mile a minute, right?
Mm-hmm.
So technically, if if it, if it's 60 what seconds in a minute, right? Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So then if you say, okay, I have, so that means that for every minute, for every mile, you've made 50 cent a mile, right? And so if you made 50 cent a mile and you can do the average you can do is 600 miles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and that means that that's what $300 within, let's say, a 10 hour, right? 10 hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So if that's $300, then and then and then when you break it down within a 10-hour span, I'm just going to use the 10 hours because we got 10 hours to drive, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, 11. We got 11 hours. I'm sorry. Forgive me for that. Um, and so anyway, and, and I'm sorry. Man, yeah, 10 hours. 10 hours. 10 hours. I'm sorry. Anyway, so in 10 hours of driving, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you do the math on that and that person made $300, right?
Yeah.
That means that that person technically made $30 an hour.
Yeah.
You see why I just broke that down like that? Because I'm using a
Mm-hmm.
10-hour span, and
Mm-hmm.
and so the average person coming straight out of school, they'll probably get somewhere. They really starting a lot of the drivers around 45, 50 cent a mile, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but if you're making 50 cent a mile, then technically you making 50 cent a minute. You see what I'm saying? And so if you got 60 minutes in an hour, you know what I'm saying? That means you made $30
Yeah.
in that hour. And
Yeah.
you do so you can't tell me that people on these jobs somewhere is making $30 an hour, $300 a day driving a forklift. And they working 10 hours.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. And then so that's why I said that. So if an average truck driver is making $300 a day and he's running 5 days a week, that means that truck driver's making $1,500 a week. He probably getting a little bit more because they got you get to you stay out pay and things like that. So you get and so per diems and stuff like that. The point I'm getting at, the last I checked, you know, um, if a person's making 1,500, that a week, that's what, right at about 80,000 somewhere in there. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? If I don't have my calculator in front of me, but you making more than the average. What's 1,500 times 50?
78.
78. So you're making and I know somebody might say, well, T, that's still, but I'm on the low end because technically, like I said, you got some paying a little bit more, and then you get layover pay and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different things that get in there, and like I said, some of these guys, and then you know, depending on how they run, you know, they'll make 80,000. Now, if you got your own, like I said, when I started this conversation, I was talking about my own.
Yeah.
I gave it to the point that if the driver was if the person was working for somebody, but if the person not working for somebody, they working for themselves, and and this person is making, and when I said the $600, you know, it's like, okay, that person if they getting $2 a mile, um, and you go 600 miles, that's what, $1,200
Mm-hmm.
that day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are you going to do some diesel? Yeah, of course. But even if you in a Sprinter van, you got Sprinter vans that's paying $2 a mile, and these are not even jobs these are non-CDL jobs. So that's why I said, transportation. If you play your cards right, transportation is still a reliable source of, it's still up there. You don't make the money, you don't make the money the pilots make, of course. Um, and you know, but most of that's because there's a job.
Mm-hmm.
The average person don't own a damn, airline. I ain't never heard of own operate airline. uh, oh yeah, he said over operational costs is, yeah, they are low in the van. You're right.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying,
Mm-hmm.
but like I know those pro masters or the sprinters, you got people that gut them out, that are very crafty, make beds in there,
Mm-hmm.
and they live in them,
Yeah.
and they keep it moving. It'll be husbands and wives doing this. When they retire or whatever, they be one driving, one,
Making
and
the
they be doing
meals.
make
I
yeah,
think
and they be making.
I think that more so now
Sorry
than
about the public. Apology. Sorry, apology.
I
I'm
think
listening.
more
Huh?
so now than before, or maybe we're just seeing it, or maybe our community is just now, you know, becoming privy to it. But I think more so now people are not. Um.
He said 30,000 the whole. My
Ooh,
man, what you? What?
sorry to hear that, sir.
Sorry to hear that, man. You just did them taxes. What kind of write-offs you didn't do, man? What kind of write-offs you didn't do, man?
Gotta get
30,
you some write-offs, sir.
man, what happened, man? Well,
I
well, you
think
don't owe 30,000, do you? You said in the whole. What I mean, I know the feeling. We've lost
well,
business.
a whole
We've
nother.
lost. Yeah, a
That's
whole
a
nother
whole nother
subject.
live.
Yeah,
Talk
yeah.
about taxes.
Oh,
Well,
you
you
broke
broke
even.
even, so that's a
Okay,
good
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's
you
good.
broke even. That's a good
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Especially with
because
all that up and down with
keeping
the
up
fuel.
with your taxes when is extremely important because it can suck up all your cash if you
Yeah,
don't pay attention
yeah. And
to
and
your
then
and keep up with
too,
your paper.
and then too, Funky, you gotta realize something, man. I don't know your situation. Um, you know, um, you know, it also too depends on how things, come at you sometimes throughout the year. Um, you can have downtime, breakdowns, and and God knows,
We've had
I've
that.
had my share. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
um, and and so a lot of times that eats into your bottom line. Oh yeah, it's a lot of them behind on taxes. Yeah, I know a lot of people behind on taxes, man. I've had to do payment plans. So hey, but that's the point. When you don't have no kids or that overhead and somebody want to get in it, if somebody say, okay, somebody want to go in the military. Somebody said, man, I'm thinking about going in the military. Okay, well, go in the military, do your thing. I ain't telling you not to. Um, but sometimes I think that, you if you got a young man that's like 19, 20 years old, well, I'll say really 20, because 23 really, really at 23, your mind is a little bit better off, and I think in transportation they'll do well. But um, if somebody said, well, I don't know what I want to do, I would encourage the parents. Say, look, I tell you what, I'll buy you a vehicle. So look how he said I gross 180,000, operation cost
Okay.
high. Pay, and he said paying off the truck in November. Thank God.
Yeah.
See, that's
Mm-hmm.
like he said. Think about it. He said now 180,000 they made, right? And I'll be paying the truck off in November. Now imagine. Let's just go. I don't know what his note is. Let's just say his note's above 1,200. Let's just say that. Or above. No, let's say it's about $1,500. Truck, I don't know. Sometimes they be about that high, but anyway, um, and, and he take that same 1,500 and he don't have the truck note no more. Now he can adjust where he wants his insurance to be at for the value of the truck. And that very 30,000 that, he kind of lost. Oh, okay, truck paid off. That's 35,000. That's the numbers
There
I
you
was trying to
go.
get at. That's the numbers I was trying to
See,
get at.
that's
Exactly.
what we be talking
And
about.
and, and
But
that's and that's
and what you
that's
want
the
to
difference.
do with that? Now you got to make another plan for that 35,000
Yeah,
to keep building on your foundation, as opposed to, okay, I got an extra 35,000. Let me do something frivolous. But if you keep building on your foundation with that 35,000, you'd be good to go.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Because that's where either the thing about it is that, and I know somebody was like, well, man, I might buy me another truck. Nah, I ain't gonna say that.
Not
I
so,
ain't
not
finna.
just
Nah. You want to stack that money.
you want to
You
stack,
know,
because,
you
like I
want to
said, these
yeah,
economies,
yeah,
they
yeah,
they
and
go on the switch up on you.
yeah, yeah. So, and then you can still run the same way, and you'll notice that you make, you know,
Yes.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
here, people need to know, yeah, the real numbers. You're right, man. And like you said, pay some bills down. There's a few things you can do, man. And like you said, the key word you said too, man, you know, um, God is good, you know what I mean? And that's what you want, man. And if you can, do the same energy you put in this year, like you said, for 2026, that energy is gonna continue to feed, and you be like, okay, the only difference is what you can do more than anything, I'll probably be a medical courier on the side. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Got a lot of that. We talked about that earlier. Uh, nah, the rest, I don't think he gonna upgrade the truck, man. He's gonna keep what he got.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? He probably like, nah, I'm good. But that's what I was saying too. That I think if I was getting in it too, and let's say I'm 23 years old, and I got good credit, right? I know somebody might say, well, man, like what Lorenzo was saying, he's going to build him a truck. Now that truck's not going to be cheap. Of course, when he builds that truck, um, it's just him now, and like you said, having the wife and everything with you. So she said she'll ride with him at times and things like that. But he's going to be out there,
Mm-hmm.
and he's gonna buy a brand new truck. So now that brand new truck is going to have the warranties and things like that. So if you break down, it's a little bit different. But he'll trade it in, once to get somewhere close to 300,000 miles. Sometimes people don't think about that. If you got good credit, and then like you said, the average wants to pay it off. You know what I'm saying? I know that's how I felt at times that I wanted to pay it off, which we did. We don't have any truck notes, but um, but I had to bust my butt to do just like Funky just said he had to bust his butt,
Yeah, because
to
you paid off
grind.
the truck.
Yeah, yeah, I had to pay. Yeah, but you had to grind, like
Yeah.
he said, and
Mm-hmm.
and but like I said, you got people that can do medical courier, routes and stuff, and make good money. They just got to be willing to sacrifice something. They got to sacrifice their
Yeah.
time. And a lot of them don't want to sacrifice the time. That's the biggest people. That's
Mm-hmm.
the biggest thing with most people. They don't want to sacrifice their time. And the one thing I would tell anybody that's getting in the truck, that the only thing you need to see in your rearview mirror is that trailer. Now, if you and you know what I'm saying, or if you drive a box truck or a Sprinter or whatever thing, only thing you need to see in the back of your in your rearview mirror is that road. You cannot think about what's going on at home. The one thing I will say that kept me, you know, God knows, knock on wood, from having. I remember that time I was in that accident, but that wasn't my fault. And
Right.
and then on top of that, I didn't get a ticket and none of that. And so okay, you got a W now. Oh yeah, 900. Yeah, you got a big boy. Yeah, you got a big boy. So yeah, you good. Yeah, you good. Uh, yeah, they've stopped making them. Yeah, they stopped making them. Anyway, so um, I couldn't think. I couldn't I couldn't worry about what was going on, even though we talked, because I had to focus on what was in front of me. Because if I focused on everything at the house and stuff like that, I would have. You can get out there and have an accident, and like I said, that time you didn't know where I was. I mean, but it wasn't like I said, the grace of God, I made it through that situation. But you can't, like airline pilots, when they leave, you can't think about what is home, man. You got to focus what's in front of you till you land.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can focus on, and transportation the same way. That's what I would tell any young man or young lady that wants to get into business. Like, look, you cannot focus on whether my girlfriend is, messing around on me, or my wife messing around on me, or vice versa. You can't focus on that because if you do, first of all, you ain't gonna want to leave her. Like you said, you're gonna want to be up on her all the time. Number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, you're gonna want to be up under him all the time, or whatever you got going on, and
Mm-hmm.
and then you can't continue. You just can't blow money. You just can't blow money, man. And so with all that said, transportation transportation is, I still think, the reliable source of income, and I think it's going to be there for a while. And I know that people be like, well, Tori, man, what about they're trying to automate stuff. And I'm like, yeah, they are. And I'm not gonna say that, it's never gonna happen. I'll be lying to you if I told you it wasn't. But is it gonna happen? Will it happen in the next 10 years? Probably so. I can't say it's not. But is there still gonna be room for needing humans? Yeah. Because to be honest with you, just the way these you know things go off grid, you like if you meant like right now you clear it up, but for a moment there, guess what, we was getting the broad, the what you call it, the broadband wasn't, you know coming through, whether one blocking signal or the other. But guess what, you put that in a 80,000 ton tractor. Who wants that to get away from them? And
Mm-hmm.
with, let's say, with gasoline, eh, that's suicide. And so that's why I said, I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I would say, it's going to take a little time. They'll automate trains, and even with a plane, they won't even automate it. Now, does it be on autopilot? Yeah, because of the pilot, he got to get up and go to the bathroom or something. Yeah, yeah, I can see that. But it's still gonna be a human somewhere to grab that plane. And with all this stuff going on with the planes, nah, it. So transportation, in my opinion, excuse me, one second. Sorry about that pilot. That pilot, man. Ooh, ooh. But anyway, I just think that, yeah, it's gonna be. I still think it's a reliable source of income, and and everybody, all we was talking about tonight, me and my wife talking about, because I've had people ask me, Tori, do you think I should get in it? And to them, yeah, I would, depending on what you want to do. If you don't want to get a CDL, don't get a CDL.
Right.
You want to learn how to, get you a, a medical courier route. We can talk about that because I had to take some classes on that. You definitely want to get certain certifications, and then, as you get in it, but it's, easy ways to get in it. You know, uh, but in all, there's ways there's ways to make money in transportation, and I think that, if you want to holler at CLA, Crawford Logistics Associates, holler at us. You can get in touch with us at CrawfordLogisticsAssociates.com, or you can just, go on here and, at CLA, it's on Instagram. You can, we on Facebook. You can get at us. Just like I said, and we'd love to talk to you. Anybody, family and friends, y'all know, just tell them. Say, hey, I'm not saying I'm no guru. I'll just say I'm just continuing. Now I got to just master Trump numbers. That's all I can tell you. We'll know more in 4 years. We mastered Bidenomics. That's what that was funny.
Recent.
And then we
Right.
had to, yeah, yeah. We dealt with
Mm-hmm.
COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we know a little bit of something about survival, but I can't say that, this is different. This situation it's different. But at the same time, with God on our side, we will get through it. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so yeah, everybody, I just hope y'all, tell people to reach out to us. So anyway, babe, what you got going on? That's what it is. Got you. So we're gonna
Turmeric
get Crawford Naturals.
scrub, beard balm, beard oil, beard balm, Crawford Naturals. Check us out on
Yeah,
shop.crawfordnaturals.com. This is our
yeah,
men's brand. Turmeric
yeah.
scrub for men and women. Helps with hyperpigmentation. Helps with your ingrown hairs, guys, with your beards, and helps with dealing with the conditions that your skin go through when you're working out in the different weather elements. So it's always good to detox your skin and your face. So this is our turmeric scrub. That's good for that. So this is all at shop.crawfordnaturals.com.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody, yeah, please support Crawford Naturals, man. My wife supports me 100%, has always supported me in, the transportation side. And I support her by wearing the brand, promoting the brand. The one thing that I will always say, especially, in the industry we're in, man, you gotta take care of yourself. We have the soap too. So she does, in natural, and one thing about it is that I think where sometimes us men we don't feel like we need to take care of ourselves like that, just buy a regular bar of soap and that's definitely far away from the truth because you dry your skin out and sometimes you can get your skin to a point of no return and then you have to do certain things and you have to exfoliate and then because you got some people that have eczema and they allow their skin to just continue to dry out more and more and then next thing you know you start having sores
Mm-hmm.
and then you're scratching yourself and then now you have to have like an internal um, antibiotic so anyway everybody I just want to say man thank you babe thank you for getting on here with me again once again but we do this every Tuesday. We got some up and coming good things coming soon. We're gonna tell everybody about it. We'll probably tell you more about it in the next couple weeks, but we got some big things coming. So anyway, I want to tell everybody tell everybody
Thank you for
appreciate it.
joining our live.
Yeah, I know, right? And but the main thing is that any day above ground is a good day, man. Any day above ground is a good day.
That's right.
I just want to tell everybody, all right, man, peace. See you next Tuesday. All right, everybody.
Peace out.
Have a good night. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.